entire India is eyeing very, very closely, and that is Prime Minister Modi's inauguration of that mega first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi, the Babs Temple. Kartik Malhotra joining us here in the studio. Kartik, hi. This is, of course, the first temple in Abu Dhabi. It is something that is going to likely deepen ties between UAE and India.
Absolutely, Shweta. And I think specifically on the temple, of course, this is among the largest temples outside of India, anywhere in the world, and the first temple of this scale to be set up in any Gulf country. And UAE, and of course, we have had close ties with UAE, in fact, with the whole region now, even Qatar, by way of the Indian Navy personnel returning back to India. And in addition to that, the long-term $78 billion liquefied natural gas project pipeline that we have signed with Qatar up until 2048. So overall, I think India's presence, India's dominance as far as trade and culture is concerned is deepening in the Middle East.
Absolutely.
The Pran Pratishtha, in fact, has taken place already, and that of course happened at 9 this morning, and that was something that everybody was glued on to, and obviously one big moment, and the temple momentum continuing not just in India but even outside of India.
Not just in India, but I think going on abroad, and that also essentially means there will be, as you rightly pointed out, greater cultural as well as industrial ties with the UAE, but also a lot of pacts were inked while Prime Minister is on his two-day visit, post which he is going to go to Qatar. We'll come to Qatar in just a bit, but let's first talk about some of those crucial cooperative agreements that India and UAE have inked in the past 1.5 days.
Right, so I think the foremost partnership, the formal partnership between India and UAE was the SEPA, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement of 2022. And post that, of course, we saw the closeness of the countries emerge even during G20 in 2023. I think the most monumental agreement, so to speak, was the joint development of the IMEC, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. IMEC, IMEEC, IMEEEC as it is referred to, by multiple people. But I think this trade corridor as a great alternative to the Red Sea, as a great alternative to the Suez Canal, and as a countermeasure to China's BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative, is something which I think grabbed all the headlines in the immediate aftermath of G20. And I think things became that much more clearer to the world, especially to India and West Asian countries, the Gulf region, that the Israel-Hamas conflict and the follow-on action in the Red Sea, the impact of that on global shipping, on global logistics, on supply chains could have been minimized, and in future could also get minimized if there is an alternative trade corridor available for trade between West, which is US and Europe, Europe to US in that case, India and Europe connected via the Middle East, and India and the Middle East or the West Asia, depending on which side of the map you're looking at it from. I think this comprehensive trade corridor is something which is going to change the landscape of logistics for the world. And that becomes a reaffirmation this time when Prime Minister Modi met President of UAE, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. And in fact, there were one-on-one trade talks as well as delegate level talks to further strengthen and add momentum to the IMEC. So IMEC is back
perhaps a
on
new
the map.
bedrock of renewed
Absolutely.
and deepening relationships.
And
between
overall,
India
I
and
think
UAE.
between India and UAE, there are many other avenues of partnership as well. The fact being that UAE already contributes about $3.5 billion worth of investments, FDI, into India. Overall, if you look at the Gulf countries, the total contribution of the West Asian FDI into India, or remittances rather into India, not directly FDI, by way of people from India who also work in the Western Asia region, is about 28% or so. So almost a quarter, more than a quarter of India's total remittances which flow back into India, come from this region. And this region, of course, are close ties, like we've mentioned, with UAE and Qatar at one end, but also Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia has also emerged as a great partner for India when it comes to trade ties. And I think the closeness between Prime Minister Modi and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, MBS as he's referred to, has also dominated headlines pre-G20, post-G20, and even today.
And following which Prime Minister is now heading to
Qatar.
Doha, which is the capital of Qatar, where, of course, with Qatar, there's been a lot of news flow in the past couple of days of a renewed liquefied natural gas pipeline, as well as those Navy personnel who have now been let go of. They have been, they've come back to India for that matter. 7 of them have come back to India out of the 8 personnel who were on a death row. Qatar is also emerging as a strong partner with India.
So what's really happening is, Shweta, at one end, of course, this has been a great diplomatic victory for India. And the fact that you were able to extract people of your origin, people who had served in your armed forces, repatriate them back to the country, get them removed from the death row and bring them back into the country safely is obviously a great diplomatic victory. But this diplomatic victory perhaps at some level also comes on the back of economic ties strengthening between the two regions. So between Qatar and India, the LNG gas import pipeline that we're talking about is a large deal. It's a $78 billion commitment that India is making to Qatar over the next 25, 26 odd years. So this $78 billion will be traded, and in fact this is going to be something that India is going to continue to pay Qatar for its gas imports up until 2048. So obviously there is a diplomatic victory, there is an economic partnership which is going on between the two countries, and Qatar on its own account is also pretty much trying to reinvent itself. We saw the FIFA World Cup. Right, this is not something that, it's not a tournament that has traditionally been held in that region. So we've seen Qatar also trying to emerge, trying to modernize itself, shed its past glory of being a princely state, oil-rich state. It continues to be that, but in addition to that, it is trying to give itself an economic and tourism and sports makeover. So overall, I think there is this very, very strong sense of this rise of the global south, which India is dominating the conversations on right now. But the entire region is emerging from its backward prowess, not prowess, but the sort of impression that the world had on this region was that you're oil rich, you're endowed with natural resources, and hence you have the hegemony when it comes to global trade. I think a lot of that, with the overall energy transition happening across the world.
So more bilateral engagement,
more bilateral engagement,
more
and more
globalization
and more reinvention
and
of the core sectors. And that is something that the UAE has also done beautifully. So if you look at not just Dubai, which of course has been a tourism and now even a business capital, so to speak, of the region, in addition to that, you've also got Abu Dhabi. So the temple coming up in Abu Dhabi is just one more avenue to attract Hindu tourists into a largely Muslim-dominated
tourism
region.
In Abu Dhabi emerging from here on. So West Asia, in a sense, trying to reinvent itself, not just as a territory which is known for conflict, but also a territory which is known for its business opportunities.
And that business opportunities beyond oil, beyond the natural resources which they already have.
Absolutely. And as a part of that reinvention, Prime Minister Modi is, of course, in UAE today. He will be heading to Qatar hereafter.